A very good evening. You're watching Eswatini TV News Bulletin at 8. Read to you by myself, Notile Sitole. First up, here's a look at tonight's headlines. The Municipal Council of Mbabane needs about 1 million emalangeni to rehabilitate infrastructure damaged by the heavy rains. Young people who applied for loans in the Youth Enterprise Revolving Fund will know at the end of this month if their requests have been granted or not. Former Minister of Public Works and Transport Ntuthuko Dlamini alleges that he is sick and his condition is not getting any better. And now, our bulletin in detail. The Municipal Council of Mbabane says it will need about 1 million emalangeni to rehabilitate infrastructure damaged by the heavy rains in the city. The municipality's Information and Public Relations Officer Lucky Tabete says the damaged infrastructure includes roads and bridges.
Cyclone Eloise has not only made some homeowners homeless, but has also left the capital city with damages that will cost an arm and a leg to fix. The cyclone has caused potholes and damaged bridges, amongst other things. Municipal Council of Mbabane Information and Public Relations Officer Lucky Tabete says they have assessed the damage to the infrastructure and quantified it.
We can basically estimate that council will spend about $1 million to fix our roads and also to repair our bridges that were destroyed by the cyclone. As you can see, the roads have been, I think 60% of our road network has been destroyed. It's quite a number of our streets, and what we will be doing at the moment is to basically to make them usable by motorists and pedestrians. So we'll be filling them with soilcrete for the moment, and when weather permits and we have a couple of days where it doesn't run, when it doesn't rain, basically we'll then be able to do extensive repairs. But for now, we will be making them just usable.
He tells us about some of the affected areas.
Some of our main roads coming in and exiting the city, but mostly we've got a number of bridges that have been destroyed. We've got one at Waterford, then there's another bridge near Mbabane Central, and then we've got one at Pine Valley. And then we've got another crossing at Mahalala where our guys are currently working on as we speak.
Also, a cause for concern in the city is overgrown grass, which is as a result of the rains. In some areas, the grass is so overgrown, people can hardly be seen, and this puts them in danger of being hit by vehicles. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosi Mavimbela, Mbabane.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Youth Enterprise Revolving Fund, Bhekizwe Mazia, says by the end of this month, young people who applied for loans will know if their requests have been granted or not. He said this when explaining how far the fund has gone in the loan selection process.
The Youth Enterprise Revolving Fund received 235 loan applications last year. The Chief Executive Officer Bhekizwe Mazia says despite the impressive turnout in the number of applications, most of them were below the required standard. He says only 25% of the total applications met the requirements needed to be granted loans.
Those that have made it to the second stage, we are anticipating to complete the appraisal within the month of February. But those that did not make it, they have already received responses from us, and we are helping them to redo their applications so that they resubmit for another assessment. Amongst these 235 applications, 36% of them were coming from Hoho region, followed by Manzini region at 32%, then Lubombo and Shiselweni at 17%. That is how they fared according to the regions. And as well as from these applications, we made our pre-analysis, that is what we call pre-screening, in order to determine whether they can proceed to the next level for appraisal. The total value of the loan applications was 12 million. I forgot to mention that previously. The total value of the loan applications that were 235 was 12 million.
Since the year 2018, the fund has disbursed 8.5 million emalangeni to 153 businesses, creating 412 job opportunities. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Nelson Ndlangamandla with Muzi Mkhonda in Mbabane.
Former Minister of Public Works and Transport Ntuthuko Dlamini alleges that he is sick and his condition is not getting any better, even though he has been admitted by a correctional services doctor. Dlamini claims that this is one of the exceptional circumstances which should be considered by the state in his bail application.
Former Minister of Public Works and Transport Ntuthuko Dlamini alleges that he has been sick since the beginning of the month. Dlamini alleges that he has been attended to by a doctor, but he is not responding well to treatment. Dlamini claims that he is at high risk of experiencing COVID-19 complications because of his age and sickness. He alleges that there is serious overcrowding in the cells to the extent that many inmates have already contracted the deadly virus. Dlamini has disputed claims of there being hitmen or assassins at Lamkapi area. He has submitted that there has not been a single incident involving hitmen at Lamkapi during his lifetime. Dlamini disputes that this is a case of premeditated murder. He claims to have gone to Mhlabubovu to ascertain what was going on and possibly stop the people from proceeding with illegal allocation of land. Dlamini alleges that the situation has normalized at Lamkapi and tempers are no longer high, as it has been 4 months since the incident occurred. The accused alleges that he was advised that police left Lamkapi about 2 weeks after the incident occurred, and there are currently no police officers deployed there. This has been attested to by his wife, Nomthandazo Hlopsile Dlamini, who has alleged that there were no police at their home. She has submitted that there have been no threats of violence on her life or any harassment by anyone since the arrest of her husband. Dlamini is represented by Noncedo Ndlangamandla in the matter, while the Crown is represented by Sibusiso Kama. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosima Vimbela, High Court.
An initiative known as Matutu, which is aimed at providing professional, psychological and other forms of supportive services for those affected in some way by the outbreak of COVID-19, has been launched. The initiative was launched today by its chairperson, Dr. Philip Nisi, who also announced that all services to be provided to the public through this platform will be given free of charge.
Last week, clinical psychologists promised to launch an initiative where they will freely provide counseling sessions to members of the public who have been directly or indirectly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Matutu has been officially launched and comprises of clinical psychologists as well as a team to assist in the daily operations. Donia Manzum says they have dedicated team that has volunteered to assist, therefore members of the public can now be assisted.
Matutu was established looking at the number of the drastic effects of the global pandemic, COVID-19. We have not only lost jobs, we have not only lost our way of living, we have not only lost our sanity, we have lost a lot of lives. We have lost a lot of loved ones. And being a clinical psychologist, I know the effects of grief and being bereaved. It can take one too long to recover from it, and yet life still has to go on. Looking at the pandemic and the regulations, we are not given the opportunity to mourn and grieve the way that we're customarily used to, and everything is so rushed up, a lot of people cannot cope with the escalating number of deaths on a daily basis. Hence the birth of Matutu. Matutu is now a free counseling service for anyone who is bereaved, who is grieving over the loss of a loved one, particularly in this COVID era, but your loved one does not have to be late because of COVID specifically. We just want to be there for you. We want to cook tututa and not be alone.
The chairperson, Dr. Filimnisi, applauded the initiative, which came at a time when Maswati have been victims of the pandemic and are psychologically affected.
We are seeing this as a privilege to be part of this great initiative, and we congratulate you, my sister, for pulling together such a competent team, and we have got no doubt that we will rally behind you, we will support you, and want to thank even the volunteers that are going to work along beside you, and even the doctors that will provide the necessary support. We would like to say today, as this initiative is launched, it requires resources, it requires support in any form and shape. So we are appealing to private sector, to parastatals, friends of our country, to support this nation.
The number to call or WhatsApp or text for counseling services is 7947-9180 or 7605-4103. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian Msibi, Ezulwini.
The Crown is now ready to prosecute 2 accused persons who allegedly assaulted police officers with a hammer. The accused persons are suspected to have hit one of the police officers with an alleged intention to commit murder.
The 2 accused, Thokozani Mamba and Meluleki Mamba, who were arrested in 2016 and charged with 11 counts. One of their charges is the attempted murder of Trina Dlamini, who is a police officer. They did this by allegedly striking Trina with a hammer once on his head. They also face a charge of assault with intent to cause grievous bodily harm. They allegedly did this by striking Zwele Tushabangu, another police officer, with a hammer once on his hand and by hitting him with fists all over the body. Other police officers who were on duty and allegedly assaulted by the 2 are Gelani Simelane and Friday Mabuza, while Simpiwe Ndlangamandla was threatened. The accused also face a charge of assault common in that they allegedly assaulted Thokozani Dlamini by threatening to assault him and hijack his taxi. During trial, the Crown says it will parade 9 witnesses. One of them is Trina, who will reportedly tell the court that Thokozani Dlamini, a taxi driver, went to the Nhlangano police station to open a case against Thokozani Mamba. Trina will reportedly tell the court that he ran after the accused, and as he was about to apprehend him, he heard a loud knock on his head and fell to the ground. He will further add that he regained consciousness while in the backseat of a car and taken to the Nhlangano Health Center. Another witness will reportedly tell the court that Thokozani Dlamini and Thokozani Mamba had a fight over Daha deal gone wrong. He will reportedly say that he saw Thokozani Mamba running towards the main road and in the process hit a police officer with a hammer on the head. Another witness will reportedly tell the court that he saw Meluleki Mamba carrying a hammer, whereafter he saw Thokozani Mamba hitting Trina with the same hammer. The hammer was later retrieved from one of the accused's waist belt. All these allegations will be tested in a court of law. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosima Vimbela, Mbabane.
Cervical cancer remains the leading type of cancer in the country, despite the many initiatives that have been put in place in Eswatini to counter the spread of this disease. World Health Organization Eswatini's Health Promotion Officer Dr. Kevin Makatsange says the organization, working alongside government and other development partners, is committed to preventing the spread of this disease.
The 4th of February annually commemorates the World Cancer Day. This year's theme is I Am and I Will, which marks an end to a 3-year campaign which sought to reduce fear, increase understanding and change behaviors and attitudes around cancer. Over the past 20 years, new cancer cases have more than doubled in the African region, from 338,000 cases reported in 2002 to almost 846,000 cases in 2020. The most common cancers is breast cancer, cervical cancer, prostate cancer, colon cancer, and liver cancer. The risk includes the use of alcohol, tobacco, high sugar, salt, fat, as well as family history, as well as being overweight, among other things. The WHO Health Promotion Officer in Eswatini, Dr. Kevin Makatsang, says cervical cancer remains the leading cancer in Eswatini, and government is still doing means to fight this type of cancer.
The most common cancer is cervical cancer, which is cancer of the cervix. And also this one, as you are aware, is linked to HIV. Then we have prostate, and then we have breast, and then we have colon cancer, and then liver. Working together with WHO, the country has actually established, the Ministry of Health, they established a cancer prevention and control unit, which has a clear strategic plan, which they are implementing, and they have developed guidelines which are actually guiding the health workers in actually diagnosing and treating cancer. And also there are a lot of capacity building trainings that are actually ongoing on cancers. So there's a lot that the government is actually doing for cancer prevention, and also even other support like the referrals of people that have got cancer to try to actually improve access to cancer services. So there's a lot that is happening, and WHO is working together with the Ministry of Health to actually strengthen the availability of these services.
In Eswatini, cervical cancer is most common in females from the age of 15 years to 44 years. According to an annual study conducted in 2017, 223 females are diagnosed with cancer and 128 have died from it. The Ministry of Health always advises Maswati to get themselves checked for cancer, as early detection is key. I am Kianim CB for Eswatini TV News in Babane. Some visuals from the internet.
Doctors Without Borders (MSF) has extended a helping hand to hospitals in the Shiselweni region by giving equipment critical to treating COVID-19 patients which the hospitals lacked. The organization's project coordinator, James Mutaria, says this is part of the organization's committed efforts in assisting the Ministry of Health in fighting COVID-19.
Having seen the surge of COVID-19 infections in the Shiselweni region, which has resulted in an influx of patients who urgently need medical care in the region's health centers, Doctors Without Borders (MSF) has prepared medical equipment to help aid relief to overwhelmed Nhlangano Health Center. The organization's project coordinator, James Mtaria, says they have committed with 2 tents, 8 hospital beds, 10 oxygen concentrators, 4 toilets and 2 showers.
Since the beginning of the second wave, which we have seen more cases increasing, which has been also a bit of a big pressure to the health facilities, we decided to help Nhlangano Health Center and the Ministry of Health by extending their admission capacity from the current 18 beds. With these 2 tents, we will now have 16 beds. The reason being, if we have more patients needing admission, then they have space to be admitted in. We also provided enough equipment for production of oxygen, so that all the 16 beds have now access to oxygen, which has been one of the most difficult things to access.
Nhlangano Health Center Dr. Sipesihle Dlamini thanked the Doctors Without Borders organization for the equipment. Dlamini says this is an indispensable resource at the health center because the number of patients needing admission is beyond the center's capacity.
We just want to appreciate the relationship we have with MSF, and it has come to be of so much benefit during this time of the pandemic, where you have a lot of critical patients. We were overwhelmed with the influx of more critical patients coming in who needed support from the gate. So meaning that we had to support some with oxygen while they were still waiting for their results.
A report issued by Health Minister Lizingosi on Wednesday gives an indication that this region had 1,300 COVID-19 confirmed cases and is still the region with the least number of infections in the country. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Sifiso Ngumalo. It's Muva Shongwe in Nhlangano.
As the country continues to receive heavy rainfalls and many homes now harvesting water with the use of containers like buckets, police have urged parents and guardians to ensure that containers used for rainwater harvesting be closed and kept away from children to prevent unnecessary drownings. This was said by the Deputy Police Information and Communications Officer, Nosipho Mnguni.
Last year alone, 6 children drowned in containers from rain-harvested water in different homesteads around the country. Deputy Police Information and Communications Officer Nosipho Mnguni urges communities hit by water shortage to take extra precautions when storing rain-harvested water to prevent children from drowning.
We have noted that in the past 2 weeks we have had excessive rain which has resulted in rivers overflooding. It is a norm that in our homesteads, when we have these rains, we collect water in either basins or buckets that we will use when doing our house chores. As the police, we request parents to take care of this water that has been collected. They should ensure that their buckets are tightly sealed in order to avoid drownings, especially that of little children. We would like to have a bucket drowning-free year this time around. Already we have seen these rains causing havoc for the nation, but we would request that parents should take good care of their children within their homesteads so that we avoid losing lives of these young ones whom we hope will grow to be special people that will look after our country in the coming years.
The World Health Organization says drowning accounts for 7% of all injury-related deaths. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Nelson Ndlangamandla with Muzi Mkonda in Mbabane.
The Eswatini National Youth Cooperatives Alliance has come up with a 3-year strategy which will help the organization to reach out to more young people in different communities around the country. This is an update given by the Alliance's Vice President Lungelo Mdluli when unpacking this strategy.
Eswatini National Association of Youth Cooperatives Alliance was formed in 2016 and it works with the Ministry of Sports, Culture and Youth Affairs to promote the formations of cooperatives by the youth for better sharing of business ideas and networking. Deputy President of the Alliance, Lungelo Mdluli, says they reached out to many young people last year. However, they feel there is a lot that needs to be done. He says in their 3-year strategy, they will visit the youth in rural communities and schools to share with them the idea of the formation of the cooperatives.
We came out with a resolution with a 3-year strategic plan. In the first year, which is going to start obviously in 2021, is us trying to recruit more people into the apex body by helping them create their own cooperatives. So we'll be going out into Dinkhundla and we're going to schools and as well as universities to try and encourage young people to form cooperatives. Year 2, we will then gather all our new affiliates and put them through skills training and register their cooperatives and then see how we can help them get access to market and funding. Year 3 is consolidating our efforts. Also in year 2021, along with recruiting, we'll be hosting Boleswa Program Exchange, where we have the youth cooperatives from Botswana and Lesotho coming to our countries, where we continue to discuss how we can work together and form linkages to create a stronger future for ourselves. As well, we have the Go Green campaign still going on, which will be continuing till the end of the rainy season, where as an apex body and a challenge to all youth in Eswatini to help us plant 10,000 trees.
13 cooperatives are under the alliance. The Youth Enterprise Revolving Fund says the youth lacks capacity in business. It says of 235 loan requests submitted to it last year, only 25% met the requirement, which is an indication that youth empowerment, especially in business, is critical. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Nelson Ndlangamandla with Muzi Mkonda in Mbabane.
A very good evening once again. You're still watching Eswatini TV. Now we'll have a look at our sports news. Women Rugby Association representative Tobeka Shongwe says the outbreak of coronavirus has stalled the association's development plans, some of which include recruiting more players and adding more teams in order to grow the sport in Eswatini. Shongwe says the association's biggest target is to ensure that Team Eswatini participates in the 2023 Women's Rugby World Cup.
Women rugby is still at a stage where it's growing rapidly, In the past, very few people knew or followed the sport, but the men's rugby commands a huge following. In the past few years, the Rugby Association has made means to grow the sport around the world. Eswatini has also started making means of growing the sport, as they now have at least 7 registered teams, which was a sign to them that the sport is growing locally. The Eswatini Rugby Association had plans to grow the sport even this year. Tobeka Shonga, who's the Eswatini Women Rugby representative, elaborates on the plans.
We have not been able to train for over a year now, and that has led to us not even being able to start new teams as we had planned to. We had made plans ukuthi sitawukhona ukuqala team lamasha kulo mnyaka lona, sifundise abantwana labancane etikolweni, siba recruit, sibafundise ukudlala le sport ngale ndlela thina lesisithandza ngayo. It has been said and it is well known that rugby is a contact sport, and because of that we have been restricted from playing and training ever since kwaqala corona. This has greatly affected us because we would like for many other children to learn how to play the sport as women, mainly because we had wanted to join the Rugby World Cup, which is set to be on 2023, of which we are not sure if we are yet to qualify for now, looking at the time of which we have spent singing training, singing the load for.
Shonga says they are hopeful and also praying that the coronavirus cases will decrease and they will be allowed to go back, play their sport, and prepare for the World Cup qualifiers. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports News, I am Patizwe Msivi, Mbabane.
That's all for now. Before we conclude, let's have a relook at tonight's headlines.
The Municipal Council of Mbabane needs about 1 million emalangeni to rehabilitate infrastructure damaged by the heavy rains. Young people who applied for loans in the Youth Enterprise Revolving Fund will know at the end of this month if their requests have been granted or not. Former Minister of Public Works and Transport Ntuthuko Dlamini alleges that he is sick and his condition is not getting any better.
And with that, we sum up our bulletin for the evening. Up next is the weather update from myself and the crew here at Eswatini TV. Thank you for watching. Good night.
Everywhere you go, MTN.